Here's a story that came to mind as I read today's gospel story of the 24th Sunday of Ordinary Time. Aunt Fanny's second son is called Robert. In the family, he is affectionately known as Boy. And of all of Aunt Fanny's children, Robert, or Boy, gave her the most trouble, growing up to become an inveterate womanizer and gambler. In fact, Robert, or Boy, once held a very good government job, which he wasted on wine, women, and song, and he ended up in a very small apartment, isolated, cut off from his family since his wife left him together with their 3 children. A little over 2 years ago, Fanny's eldest daughter, called May, was in quite a rage. And the reason for her anger was that on Boy's 60th birthday, Fanny made a present of an extremely expensive bed set or bed sheet to her son Robert, or Boy. In fact, May had scrimped and saved and worked long hours so she could buy this rather extravagant gift for her mother while she was working as a domestic in New York City. And listening to May's complaint afterwards, May said to me, "Boy, I quarreled and I quarreled and I quarreled. The only thing I didn't do was to curse. Why does my mother waste her resources on her good-for-nothing son?" The extravagance of Aunt Fanny's love, the extravagance of her gesture towards this son, who was in many ways an ingrate, is mirrored in these stories of God's mercy towards all that is lost. Jesus says, "What man among you with 100 sheep, losing one, would not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the missing one till he found it? And when he found it, would he not joyfully take it on his shoulders, and then when he got home, call together his friends and his neighbors?" Recently, I realized like a lot of the Bible, I had been reading this passage wrongly over the years. In fact, the correct answer to Jesus' question, what man among you would not leave the 99 sheep and go in search of one who strayed? The answer to that is none. That is not how people act with sheep, which are very expensive animals. Normal human common sense would tell you to cut your losses and preserve your extensive investment in your flock, and you give that lost sheep over to the vultures or the wolves. But in fact, the shepherd in Jesus' example is acting in a countercultural fashion. In fact, he is an image of God whose logic is not human logic. God never gives up on what belongs to him. God goes after the stray sheep because the stray sheep is his. If a shepherd wants to leave his expensive flock and go after a single animal, it is because the animal simply belongs to him. And this is precisely how God treats with us. God never gives up on his creation. And in fact, the extravagance of God's love ensures that in many ways God is free. God is absolutely free. People who cannot love extravagantly, people who cannot love in a sense recklessly, are far more prone to hold on to the wounds and the offenses of the past. God, in a sense, is protected from all bitterness because of the overflowing nature of his love. And so God encourages this kind of loving in all of us this Sunday who claim to be his followers. A stark lesson in contrast, however, was seen this week. And for those of you who have been watching the international news, there is news of a camp the size of a small town in Syria where the family of deceased or imprisoned ISIS fighters are to be found. And it appears as though these women and their children hail from all over the earth, from wherever ISIS has managed to win recruits. And it would seem as though their countries of origin have washed their hands of them. And I also thought of this example as I read Jesus' parable of the 99 sheep in the hands of the shepherd and the one stray sheep. The people in this camp in many ways symbolize the single stray sheep. And in a sense, the shepherds of this world react towards the stray sheep with human logic. Let's cut our losses. We did not send them to fight this terrible war, and so we are better rid of them. Isn't it funny? God's ways are not our ways are not God's ways. As high above the heavens are above the earth, so far is God's ways removed from our ways. Let us ask ourselves on this, the 24th Sunday of Ordinary Time, am I ready to enter into God's logic? Am I ready to imitate God in his overflowing, merciful love, his love that touches even the ungrateful and the undeserving? God bless you.